Good afternoon. I'm Tony Liberatore, Athletic Director and Associate Principal at Columbia River. Talking today with Athletic Director and Head Bowling Coach Julie Pagel on a regular series we're doing here in Vancouver Public Schools, talking to head coaches. And we're titling this, It's Not the X's and O's. So we're going to be talking about team building and culture and just some of the efforts that we want to honor the coaching efforts here in Vancouver Public Schools. Coach Pagel, before we get into some of your questions, let's talk about Fort Bowling.
Oh, I'd love to talk about Fort Bowling.
So why don't you give us a little bit of rundown? You've had a great run of success.
We have, thank you. We this was my 7th year. Came in with a team that really wasn't a team. We didn't have enough kids to field full varsity. Had to forfeit a bunch of games, and I think we're kind of lost, and had an athletic director that said, hey, I know you've coached a lot of things before. You ever done any bowling? I'm like, no, but I'm willing to learn. Sounds fun, great timing. Got some kids excited about it, and we've gotten one state trophy. We were 4th place 5 years back. We've had a lot of individual success, hoping that next year we'll be able to get our team back to state.
Right, and again, you mentioned that success making it to state, and your program, it's been consistent, and really, I mean, let's be honest, the Greater St. Helens League in Clark County, it's the leader in girls bowling in the state. I mean,
absolutely.
Just off the top of my head, at least, let's see, Evergreen went back to back, Battleground won 4 straight, Mark Morris has won 2 straight, and you go against those teams on a regular basis.
Correct.
So let's talk about that then. That good competition.
Oh,
right?
Great competition. The best bowlers in the state by far, or in Southwest Washington by far. In fact, this year we finished 3rd, just out of the opportunity to go to state. But in one of our league matches, we beat Evergreen, who was a 3A state champion.
Right.
In a non-league match, we beat Mark Morris, who was a 2A state champion. Yeah. We had great matches with Columbia River, who's always right up there in the 2A. Skyview always does well in the 4A. And Hudson's Bay, has been
also right
really
there.
Strong.
Yeah,
and so we, Prairie this year was 2nd in state. So it's frustrating because we're so close, and we get up there, like the last 2 years, been up there with a couple individuals, and I look at the other teams that are up there, and we're sitting at home as a team, and I know if we just go averages to averages, we're the 3rd or 4th best team in the state.
In the state, yeah. Well, Coach, with your answers, I gave you some questions. There's a word that stuck out to me, and I want you to talk a little bit about how you use this in your team building and concept, and that's just love. Oh. You'd mentioned a little bit of that. So, can you?
I love being around high school age kids.
Sure.
It makes me feel young, even though I'm not. I love sports. I love competing. And probably the biggest thing that I enjoy the most is just love watching these kids do something individually and as a team that they really didn't think they were capable of doing. And I'm just so grateful. I've learned so much. When you coach for 30-some years, you realize what's really important. And I really do see it now, how cool it is to go to weddings and go to baby showers and meet kids. In fact, one of my best bowlers a couple years ago, I taught her mom.
There you go, right?
And it's just full
that circle of life.
It's full circle.
Yeah, good.
Super cool.
Again, another question I asked you was, what book or author or coach summarizes your coaching philosophy? And you mentioned the very successful Tennessee volunteer women's basketball coach Pat Summitt. How did you connect, and why did you connect with that book?
Probably really started connecting with her, even though she didn't know that I was connected with her 30 years ago, because there were not many successful female coaches, and certainly not ones that had the longevity. I always kind of looked up to her because she could be tough without being, a total tool,
Right.
And she just had high expectations for her players, but every player had good things to say about her. Nobody, kids didn't leave her team. They appreciated tough love and just the fact that she would often say, and in her book, that she liked to challenge kids,
right,
and without breaking them down or making them doubt themselves.
Sure.
And I think that's super important in any sport with any age athlete. At Fort, I think it's hugely important.
Right.
Last 20 years.
Sure. So how do you then, again, you mentioned, because bowling, you get a team score,
right?
Very individualized, though. So how do you get those kids to compete and to improve then?
Well, mainly it's through competition, because, when we practice, it's like everybody's trying to beat each other, but it's not, I can't wait to just destroy you. It's like, I want to beat you so that tomorrow you'll beat me, so that our whole team will be better, and that we'll all be able to go to state. I mean, that's the whole thing, is
right,
to
right.
have this trip together,
Sure.
and get to extend, the season. And even when we go with individuals, it's always like, oh my gosh, I wish everybody was here, because this is our team dinner with 4 people instead of our team dinner with 10 people.
Right.
And
so I didn't ask you this earlier, but I want to ask you now. And you had mentioned, 30 years ago, there weren't very many women head coaches, even in women's sports.
Right.
So go back to, in your educational career, the impact of Title IX. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge. I mean, I graduated in 1979, and just the difference between when I graduated in 79 and when my older sister graduated in 76. We actually got decent uniforms,
Sure.
I remember watching her play in pennies.
Sure.
In a blouse. And I was just like, And just the opportunities, even since then. Now, like, I just came from the district golf tournament.
Right.
And when I was in high school, we had a golf team, and girls could try out. The only way you were going to make the golf team is if you beat this many boys.
Oh.
And it didn't happen.
Sure.
It didn't happen very often. There were hardly any scholarships, and now, I mean, it's mind-boggling, just the opportunities
That's
for
great.
the girls. It's awesome.
So in your career, what other sports have you coached?
I coach volleyball, basketball, softball, and now bowling.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. So in those sports and across your experience, how have you applied, what Pat's Summit, when we talked about? So again, here's the quote that you put in from the book is, and again, I'm summarizing here, you're okay, but you could be better. So how did you practice that, and how do you apply that then, especially in bowling?
Yeah, well, specifically in bowling, I mean, it's easy. It's like, okay, cool, you got a 250, do it again.
Sure.
Never to be satisfied, and don't become complacent. I mean, until you are routinely getting 300s in bowling, it's very easy. You're not, there's room for improvement. And improvement not only in your score, but you can be a better teammate. You can help your teammate. Maybe you're not having a great game, but you're noticing something that one of your teammates is doing, and you can say, hey, have you tried this? Just all about helping each other. And one of the coolest things that I've seen in a long time was, we were up at state just this past year, and I had a junior, McKenna Ellen, and a freshman, Rose Ukbanata, that qualified as individuals. And we're down to the last game, the 6th game, and it's a lot of bowling.
Yeah.
And my girls were 2 pins apart. And we were sitting at, I believe, 12th and 13th. And I said, hey, look, here's the deal. We throw a big game here. We can medal. Either one of you guys can medal. Let's just, do what we can and finish strong. And Rose had a 223. She just had an amazing game. She finished 9th by 4 pins, but she had a 223. McKenna, who'd been just bowling lights out all day, had a 116, which was her lowest game in the entire season.
Sure.
And not by a little.
Sure.
By probably 30-some pins.
Wow.
And no matter, I knew she was frustrated. You could tell she was frustrated, but she cheered for Rose and high-fived every ball, and there was no pouting. And to me, that was just like, wow.
The team culture, right?
Absolutely.
This is what you wanted.
It's like, what an unselfish kid. I was so proud of her.
Good.
And other coaches were saying, like, wow, that was an awesome game out of your freshman, but man, I'm impressed with your junior.
Good.
It was cool.
Good, thank you. So let's say you're going to talk to a room full of first-year varsity coaches. Okay, doesn't matter their sport, but they're about to start their season. What's one piece of advice you would give them?
I think the biggest thing, and I'm sure I heard it when I was a first-year coach, but it didn't sink in until later, is enjoy each of these kids. Get to know each team, because yeah, the wins and losses are important. No question. I have some great memories about unbelievable wins and some frustrations about losses. But it's so cool to think back and to look at the old pictures and to go, oh man, I still remember these names. It's like, wow, that to me is the coolest thing, is be grateful for all these kids that you have. And yeah, there's going to be challenges and there's going to be ups and downs, but how cool to be able to share 3 months, out of every year with these kids and watch them grow and just
lifetime of memories.
Yeah,
like
to
you
be
said.
a part of their life.
Yeah, good. Thank you. What is one lesson that you'd want your mentor to know that you've learned?
I would definitely want two real lifetime mentors, Karen Hill and Ray Wright, and they're just super great people. They always talked about being grateful. Just be thankful. And I feel like I've always been thankful, but the older I get, the more thankful I am.
Right.
It's like,
I've noticed
wow,
that in my life as well. That's crazy.
Right.
It's great.
I'm still here. I'm still able to do this. Thank goodness. And then something Ray said to me a long time ago was, in life, there's winners and losers. And the winners aren't always the ones with the highest score.
There you go.
And it was like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay to not win if you've done the absolute best you can and you walk out of here with your head held high.
So in a typical fort bowling practice, it seems like there'd be a lot of differentiation, right, for each bowler. And I know nothing about bowling strategy besides to knock down the pins.
That's the best strategy.
Right, and because I had a question about how do you use data. So can we talk a little bit about what do you do then for those kids?
So, because we have a very big team. We have our varsity and our JV, but
30 plus kids.
Have about, usually around 30 kids. So you've got kids with all different types of skill. Now on our varsity, our top 7, we've got kids that their biggest issue is spare pickup. Okay, let's focus on, we're having trouble with picking up the 10, or you're having trouble with picking up the 7. We got other kids that are, toward, the bottom that, let's try and get close to the pocket on our strike ball.
Sure.
So with our better kids, and I'm old, and I'm old school, and I don't like phones out at practice ever. But on occasion, there are some bowling apps where you can record, and I just with my varsity, and not at every practice, but where you can track, because I have them
That's cool.
I have them write down, what pins did you leave? Because the phone tends to be a little too distracting.
Right.
But it's much faster if you can put the app in, and then you can see, okay, at the end of this practice session, what percent of your first ball hit the pocket.
Okay.
What percent, what's your strike percentage, what's your spare percentage on multi-pins? What's it on a single pin? And so that kind of data is really helpful. I wish that we had a bowling center where we could just set up pins like they can do at Big Al's.
Sure.
That they can just focus on picking up.
I just want the 710 or whatever.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, nobody wants the 710.
Well, that's the only one I know.
Nobody wants the 710. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to give the stats to the kids and say,
Right.
hey, look, you know, there's a reason why you're stuck here at 130. It's because you're not picking up these types of, you know, and this type of spare. And on your next ball after a spare, instead of getting an 8 or a 9, you're getting a 3. So we really try and get them to understand how to keep score.
Right.
Because that's something that, you know,
Right. No, I think
probably
that's what I
even
was wondering.
At your age,
yeah.
did you ever have to?
No.
Yeah. So I remember bowling, and I didn't
Right.
bowl
I mean,
a
you just
ton.
go to go, right?
Right. You had to write out the score, and a lot of kids that bowl now, they don't even get that, oh, yeah, it actually does affect
Right.
my overall score if I don't get an 8 or 9 after it. You know, oh, great, you had a spare, you threw the next ball in the gutter.
Right.
You just wasted that spare.
Yeah.
And so we try and take a lot of time with the math and, you know, here's a score that you're going to end up with if you do
Right,
this.
that's good.
Here's the score you're going to end up with if you keep wasting this.
Keep going the gutter. And one thing, you know, my first year as AD, I was bowling commissioner, and I heard a lot of the hot dog and curly fried jokes, right? But and I mean, you go and, you know, you watch the kids, but where I was really like just blown away by the bowling, I mean, for lack of a better term, or I guess it's the best term, the community,
Oh,
right? And there is, and I always knew
Absolutely.
there was one in Vancouver, Clark County, but
Right.
it was that district bowling tournament. It is unique and one of a kind in
And
high school
intense.
sports,
It's
and
intense.
intense.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. It's funny because my husband, he'll tell people all the time, well, you know, yeah, Julie's coaching bowling now, and they'll kind of
Yeah,
laugh. And he'll go, she coaches bowling like she coached volleyball and basketball and
Yes.
softball. There's no difference. And it's true. And I mean, Pam does the same thing
Yes.
at Bay. Logan does the same thing at River. Tracy does the same thing at Skyview. I mean, I think that we are blessed with great kids and great kids that want to learn, but our district has some really good coaches that have high expectations for kids.
Right, and that's where I guess kind of ashamed to not realize how I don't know the word, the intensity and competitiveness
Yeah.
around it, because again, I had never seen it.
Well,
and it reaches a certain segment of kids, especially in the winter, right?
Yes,
They're not going to wrestle.
right.
They're not playing hoop.
Yep,
And the bowling, we have competitive kids that want to do it.
absolutely.
And again, like I said earlier, Southwest Washington, the best bowlers in the state by far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the other thing that people don't realize is we have kids that could get lots of bowling scholarships. The problem is bowling is not West Coast.
No.
If you want to bowl,
Midwest only, right?
it's Midwest to East Coast. So we had one gal from Fort that took a scholarship and bowled in Nebraska,
Yeah.
and we'll have one currently that's bowling in Delaware. But there are, you know, Hudson's Bay and one at Kansas. There's kids
Yeah.
everywhere, but there are so many more that if they could stay in the Northwest, they would for sure. It's just like, man, do I really want to go to Iowa or something?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not to hate on Iowa.
No, but
Much
you know, it's
respect,
cold in
but-
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly. So,
Right. All right, Coach, our next segment is called Psych 101. I'm going to get into the mind of Coach Pagel here.
okay.
And again, in your distinguished career here, what's your best game or win ever? And you may have a lot.
As a coach,
Yeah.
best probably was, there's two. There's
Okay.
two. I really can't. I mean,
That's fine.
Our volleyball team that I was coaching in 1986, winning the district tournament and going to state against Columbia River, who had been going to state every year forever.
Mhm.
That was an amazing memory. Then we went on to state tournament, got third, and that was really, really cool, especially because the year before was probably our most devastating loss.
That was my next
to-
question.
To Columbia River. We were playing in the district championship and had a kid, had a beautiful power tip. I mean, I still have it on tape. And it's down. We're up 14-3 to win it, and a late call by the official calls it a carry. I mean, and then we got beat. So to come back and win that next year was amazing. The other thing that was super, super cool is my bowling team from 13-14, our team. The year before we had been 1-17. This year we were 8-10, but we were really coming on, and we were just bowling on fire. And we didn't win district, but we finished second
Right.
to qualify, and just shocked the bowling world. I'm not kidding.
Right.
And ended up getting fourth in state the next week, those were two
That's
amazing
Good,
wins.
thank you. Who are the best athletes you ever coached?
Oh, I coached some really good athletes early on, especially. The best athlete that I ever coached is my little sister, Lori Merlino.
Right.
Yeah, she was D1 basketball, University of Washington. She threw the javelin at University of Washington, and she had several D1 volleyball offers too. She was a really good athlete.
I was a youngster in her heyday. Yeah,
Is that right?
Yeah,
You
she was
remember her?
always all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything.
She was a great athlete. I had that same year, Dion Leckie and Kim Keith were two of the most phenomenal volleyball players that I ever was around, and they both played D1 volleyball. Ariane Boyer was an amazing athlete. She played basketball at University of Oregon. We had some.
You had a good run.
Really great kids.
As a fan, what are your favorite sports teams and/or your favorite coach?
Oh man, I love Coach K.
Yeah.
I think he's awesome. I love watching him coach. I got to see him at a coaching clinic, and I was
that's
just
cool.
like, wow, sold on him. I've just been a long-suffering Mariner fan.
Oh,
I'm a Seahawks
join the club.
fan.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if it's 13-2, we're looking so good.
Right. Reality
but,
sets in.
That's right. Hope springs eternal. I loved watching Lou Piniella coach because it was obvious how much he loved his team, and he would fight for his team.
I love Lou.
Yeah, he was just, I love that. And I love Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Of the Seahawks. I love
Different
watching
guys,
him.
but, get success, right?
Yeah.
And, talking about the Mariners, Lou is the only manager that's ever taken them to the playoffs.
Right.
So 95? Yeah, four playoff appearances in 40-plus years, and it's always Lou.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you on the Mariners. Misery loves company, Coach Pagel.
Right? I also love Tony Bennett. I loved Tony Bennett, especially when he was at WSU. It was heartbreaking when he left, but I was happy for him that Virginia.
Yeah, and again, I'm always, this year when they won it, they talked about coming back from that loss, the only one seed to lose to a 16. And you just knew. I mean, it bothered him. There's no doubt it bothered him, right? And it was made fun of on Twitter forever,
everywhere.
Right? But
and will continue to be.
Yes, but they've embraced it.
Redemption.
And the redemption. And he had enough. He grew from that. The kids grew from that.
Absolutely.
And
Super
there was
cool.
no other way for Virginia to end the season.
Right.
They had to win it. And I appreciate that. I'm glad that they did. And there, people are saying, well, they got some calls at the end. Come on.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, Coach, just to wrap up here, we're going rapid fire.
Okay.
And these can be questions about anything.
All right.
Okay. And I have, I think, 4 good ones today.
Okay.
What's a common pizza topping that really shouldn't be on pizza?
Anchovies.
Okay. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Why?
Absolutely.
Why?
Never got into Star Trek at all. The whole beam me up Scotty thing. I was just like, really.
But the Force is good.
The Force, it's with me.
Okay, good.
It's with you too.
Thank you. Let's say hypothetically you win a grand prize. You have 2 options about this grand prize. The first option is a 1-year trip in Europe. You go wherever you want, and you get a $2,000 a month stipend. Okay? The second option of this grand prize is 10 minutes on the moon. Which one are you taking?
100% going to Europe. Because 100% going to Europe because I don't like to fly, and to be up in a rocket ship. I mean, I made it to Europe once. I want to go back, but I could never do the moon. No.
There's only been like 12 or 13 people ever. You could be don't even want the bragging rights.
Zero interest.
Okay. Last one, bowling. Where does the term turkey come from in bowling?
That is a great question. I don't know, but I will tell you something.
Yes.
Turkey, obviously, 3 strikes in a row. 4 strikes if you're a serious bowler is a 4-bagger. 5 strikes if you're a serious bowler is a Yahtzee.
Oh, okay.
And then it's 6 baggers, blah, blah.
Sure.
What we do at Fort Vancouver High School is we have assigned different meats to the number in a row. So we've got turkey. A ham bone is, some people in the bowling community use ham bone for 4.
Okay.
5, we go with chicken wing. And then we just carry on. We've got pork chop. We've got...
Have you ever had the pork chop then?
We've gone all the way to beef shank, which is 8.
The beef shank.
The beef shank. The gal that's over... Bailey, that's bowling now over at Wilmington University in Delaware. She went 8 straight, all the way to beef shank. We have not got to prime rib yet.
So the 10th is the prime rib. And in the 10th, is that the 300?
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, I lied. The 12th is the 300.
Okay, the 12th strike.
10th is prime rib. We do have, I've stopped at 10 because...
It's just going to blow the system.
Don't jinx it.
It's
just like, you know what? Here's where we got to go.
Good. Well, Coach Pagel, I appreciate your time today coming in. I
Thanks.
know, like you said, you just left golf, and we're going to continue our conversation with coaches. And glad we got to know about you and River Bowling.
Thank you for everything you do for River, for our district, Tony.
Thank you.
You're the man.
Appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Take care.
Thank you.